a perfect opportunity for us to use the vast land that we have into Africa and start production on our own. If Sall goes into or he went into the Kremlin asking for a kind of free port area to allow grains and other places to be coming into Africa, I think it has some Western undertone. It's a kind of ulterior motive because we know exactly how Europe is suffering because of the war that is going on in Russia. And it is because of their same unscrupulous way of dealing. They are claiming that sanctions are being leveled on Russia. I agree. But trust me, these guys are giving Russia billions of dollars per day to allow gas, fuel, and other things to be transported into Europe because they know that their economies cannot survive. They are pretending to the world, but they are also engineering Putin to be doing what he's doing because they know exactly how they are benefiting from the war. And this so-called war also is empowering people like the Western world, especially the Western world. I'm speaking here because the United States is also part of the Western world and countries into Western Europe. They are definitely benefiting from this thing. USA has what manufactured weapons decades ago. So now, because of the war that is taking place into Eastern Europe, it has now given them the opportunity to sell their arms and ammunition to countries who are very reluctant to buy this thing. And now Putin is now a vilified person. He's now the devil. They are placed into a certain place that all nations now are willing now to buy weapons to fortify themselves. Who is benefiting? USA and our allies. Now they are coming with this grain issue. They just want to use Africa. Maybe sometime our leaders' brain can be on holiday. The second time they started borrowing one, each time they approach them to understand that certain things can expose our vulnerability, maybe place us into different things. Immediately those grains are being released, like what Putin is saying, he's going to ensure that, especially at Donis and other places, Shaka Donis and other places, where they have their well-established free port, to be exporting this grain so that Africans should not starve. Trust me, these Europeans will be in to buy huge amount of this grain to feed their citizens. So I'm seeing Africa has the solution to the problem. Although I do not agree with the Western mentality, but Sall is allowing himself to be used by these Western allies. And the only thing is like they are using Africa as a scapegoat. But much of those benefits is going to Europe. Maybe if Sall and other African leaders would have used this as the biggest opportunity, just the way Europe is saying, we shouldn't depend on Western gas. We shouldn't depend on Western whatsoever thing. We shouldn't depend on their oil. Let us use this as an opportunity to provide another solution that we can have energy instead of relying on their gas and fuel. Why Africa cannot use this opportunity to break down the forest that we have today, but still we are listening to the ammunition coming from the West. And Sall and others are just listening to them. His plea is he has used African name. But trust me, if the deal actually goes through, Europe and the Western and other Western countries are going to benefit more than Africa itself. Because how many African countries even have the power to go and purchase grain? How many African countries actually depend on that so-called grain that he's talking about? Except Egypt and few other countries in the south. So we depend on rice. Who is importing rice from Ukraine and other places? There are other places that are. So this thing is just a well-established around nonsense, and he wants to use it. Somebody is putting his bill, not definitely the AU, and he knows exactly what he's doing. So it is high time they forget about those mentality, use the Russian war, Ukraine war to develop Africa, instead of us preparing to remain into that beggarly position.
Definitely. You know, what Macky Sall has demonstrated here, and the African Union chairperson, Musa Faki, or whatever his name is, these people are just showing to the world what African Union and African leadership is made of. A group of puppets, retired gangsters, men with no vision, corrupt, incompetent people sitting in higher offices, stealing money and ruling over poor, destitute. And these are the people we are calling our leaders. Otherwise, why would an African leader be used by Europeans to go and sit down there with Putin and go and discuss issues that don't even concern you. You say green. How many of Ukraine green comes to Africa? And like you rightly said, most of it, some of it go to just North Africa, maybe where these people eat a lot of bread and what have you. We don't feel what do we import from Ukraine. But the Europeans need it. So they say, Africa, get up, go and speak for us. Because we are always used by these people. When they fought their war, or the Second World War, guess what? France was protected by African troops from Senegal, the tirailleurs, from all over, from Mali, from Mauritania. They went there to die for France. The General de Gaulle and other people, then they ran away from Paris. Their headquarters was in Brazzaville, in Congo. Congo was the new France because French people could escape. They could not stay in France because the Germans were dealing with them. They ran away and came to Congo. Congo was the new Paris then. But when France got liberated, guess what? Those Africans that died for France, they were thrown in the dustbin. They were forgotten. There is no honor. Nobody honored them in France today. When they're honoring the soldiers, they are cowards that they call soldiers. They don't honor the true African that died to liberate France. Now the same thing again. They are using us again in this Ukraine war to speak for Europe, to cry as if when Putin attacked Ukraine, it is all Africans that are dying. We are the one who lack food because Putin attacked Ukraine. This is the problem. Our leaders do not speak for us. They speak for other people. They do not think. They do not behave or do not act in the best interest of the African people. They don't even know what African people are saying. They don't come on social media to know the public opinion of their people, or they don't even care. They care what the Western world says. And who are they ruling over? We are living in sad times of this continent is just producing backward leaders from one generation to the other. That's why we are where we are, brother. It's not by accident. We are producing low-minded leaders with no vision. You see, that's why it's not going to work. This AU mission to Kremlin is just a shame. And for me, I consider it a disgrace. The great African Union created by Kwame Nkrumah Organization African Unity was not intended to be a joke. It was intended to be a great organization that will become a war power and not to be beggars. But it's unfortunate this is where we are today. That takes us to another failed organization, ECOWAS. ECOWAS delayed decision over Guinea, Mali, and Burkina Faso, reluctant to return to democracy. Edward, tell us about this other quack organization called ECOWAS. They say what's happening and why are they delaying? What kind of decision are they delaying? Because they have suffocated Mali enough, they have strangled Mali enough, giving the terrorists upper hand. Now, what are they saying?
I think ECOWAS is becoming a laughable organization. It is unfortunate that their situation have been satirized negatively. We all knew what happened in Guinea sometimes ago, in Mali, in Burkina Faso. And this was the same organization that published pre-written statements and promised to take a robust and massive action against the military junta that are currently ruling this country. Unfortunately, the organization itself is not a one that is unified. It is now behaving like a toothless bulldog that bark but does not bite. And sometimes you may even say the back of ECOWAS under a bite. You see, we watch like they gave Guinea an ultimatum, and Guinea violated that ultimatum. The military is proudly right institutions, and they have banned political party rally and banned all demonstration and claim that anybody who decide or do dare them, definitely you are going to face the barrel. And that is no different than what is happening today in Burkina Faso, in Mali. Mali have constructed as a Delta, and its military regime has one or two organized coup within the coup, and even deactivated the so-called military government that was there. And maybe I can even say they are depoliticizing the Malian society. Depoliticizing in essence here. They do not want any political. They want to create a situation where people will develop lukewarm interest into politics. Because if you show any interest into politics, the military will come against you. So they want to depoliticize the civilian population and maybe politicize the military population to create a sort of situation that if anybody decides to come across them or even show any political interest, definitely become the target of the military. And now you are seeing Burkina Faso has also copied that. And these guys have the same philosophy. And they have established themselves like a kind of combined being organized within the sub-region of Africa, where they connect themselves and they promise to support themselves. Now you are seeing Russia coming and supporting all of these states, three states, with a kind of fake promise. And the military is actually relying on Russia because one, militarily they have been supporting one or two ways. ECOWAS, which are so-called volume power, the voluminous power that they claim to have over West Africa, now is proving to be powerless. They condemn, they lambasted, they reprimanded those military people, and they called for immediate release of the detained politicians and asked them to be living into their comfort zone, given all the opportunity that they need. Unfortunately, Mali provided 2 years ultimatum, according to them, about state of to return to democracy. They violated it, they turned it another 3 years. Now, they even claiming that they want to be it for 5 years so that they can reorganize it. Guinea has stated 3 years, 8 months. Then Burkina Faso is with another 3 years. And now ECOWAS claim, according to them, that they are going to do everything they can to ensure that this guy returns their countries to civilian rule. Unfortunately, the military have decided not to do such thing. So they met on several occasions, agreed that this should be our major decision that we should take. Sanctions have not worked. That tells you how vulnerable the situation is. Sanction has not worked. Then they are now even baffled because ECOWAS, the 16 countries in ECOWAS need to work as a united force. Maybe 13 against 3, they would have definitely been able to conquer the situation. But unfortunately, because of political affiliation, breakdown of foreign policies among member states, intimidation, then past or grudges within these leaders, now the so-called juntas, the khaki boys who have taken power over this state, they're now using it to their own advantage. And even when they are seen, just like the way Congo, DRC Congo, Rwanda, Uganda are accusing themselves of supporting rebel among themselves. So let's assume that a military government take over there. You would not expect that state, one country to support another because the leaders are already bearing grudges. It's a similar thing that's happening over there. Nigeria is not too friendly with Cameroon. Neither are these other countries that are friendly. So Nigeria itself, that is a big brother. It's a failed state. So with pressure, look at the kind of political crisis, religious crisis, economic crisis that Nigeria is going on. Can she concentrate on ECOWAS to even force Guinea, Mali, or Burkina Faso to return power? No. She have a lot of trouble to undertake. You won't like Macky Sall. Instead of him trying to unite Africa, sanitize it, maybe use it as his work, what he's doing is up there begging Russia to release grain, being used as a tool by the Westerners to achieve their goal. So that tells you that ECOWAS itself is a failed state. The leaders are not organized. That is why they have not been able to come with a unanimous force, a unanimous statement, and to act as a force. Because you are seeing all other countries, they are busy affiliating themselves. Look like Togo is opting to join Commonwealth, when by default she should be part of the francophone countries. So these things is just a kind of, let us just say, the organization itself is a very failed one. They have come into power since in the 80s. Up to now, nothing good has actually come to pass. And they can only be able to control smaller countries like the Gambia. Maybe by then, because COVID was not in attendance in Africa, And because the Gambia is a very small country with a minute population, so they use this as an opportunity. But Guinea is a very bigger country. Mali is very big. Burkina Faso is also big with over 18 million population of people. ECOWAS itself is just a failed one. So they have been finding it very difficult because you can only control your children if you are capable of providing all of their domestic needs. You house them, you feed them, do whatsoever thing. When you speak as a father, they will listen to you. But ECOWAS has not been able to control themselves. They cannot exert control over there. Maybe there is no, people just lost vision. The leadership do not have vision for their own countries. Those leaders are, because it is a kind of combination of all leaders in Africa that form ECOWAS. Unfortunately, if those leaders do not have vision for their own countries, how can they have vision for West Africa as a whole? How can they control? Those leaders have not been able to exert maximum control over their own countries who are leading ECOWAS today. How really can they control those military? So the military knew exactly that they can take over this country and exert control over this country, because West Africa itself is a volatile state. Leaders who are leading ECOWAS have not been able to control successfully their own countries, so they cannot control an external body. So that is why they are delaying decision, because each time they meet, people will oppose. They are not coming there with one voice. There is no volume coming above. Nobody speaking. Nobody has the absolute authority, no temerity. So people have the audacity to do anything.
Definitely, Edward. I agree with 100%. This is very, very, very unfortunate that these things are going on the continent. But ECOWAS has proven that in the last few years, that it has to be reviewed. Just like United Nations has failed, African Union has failed, all these unions. The only union I think that is working or that is that still maintain its purpose is the European Union. But all these other unions are just fumbling. African Union, United Nations, ECOWAS, nothing they are doing. They are just there to support European Union. I think they are all auxiliary organizations for the European Union. That's all I see. They do not function. They do not act in the best interest of their people, and they have no vision at all. ECOWAS has become powerless. They were not even able to protect the ECO that they proposed in the 1970s. They are unable. Little France came and took it away from them. They've done nothing. You see, now we are witnessing the return of military coup, and definitely is very, very, very sad. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have two more topics to discuss. So please stay with us as we go on this short break.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Thank you for watching Focus on Liberia. This is your favorite show, Roundtable Africa. And I am Sekou Kele, your host. And we are discussing here stories that made headlines from across Africa. And Edward Amara here is here with me, my co-host. And our next topic here is we are going to Liberia now. All charges dropped against Liberian presidential hopeful Alexander Cummings. Edward Amara, we followed this story a few months ago when the so-called CPP, the collaborating political parties in Liberia, decided to form a coalition to unseat the president, George Weah, in the coming presidential election. Unfortunately, they fell apart, things did not work out. The marriage was not a good one, and everything exploded. But it exploded with series of lawsuits and charges against each other. And one of the most remarkable one is Alex Cummings being charged for fraud, and that he kind of fingered the document. He authored the framework documents of the collaborating political parties, and then they took him to court. So here now we hear the Supreme Court have dropped all charges against Alexander Cummings, and he is now a free man. He can now contest election again. What does this tell us again about our failed politicians? First of all, they form a coalition with no idea, no vision. They broke up. Then when they broke up, they decided to lie on each other, take each other to court, not because they were trying to protect rule of law or do anything in the interest of Liberian people, but just pure witch hunt. And then now the man goes to court, he's been cleared. So what does they tell us about Liberian politics in particular, or African politics in general?
No, thank you very much. I think this is a very laughable situation. A few weeks ago, we discussed this all-important topic in our mama Liberian country. And from that, we actually knew that it was a gimmick, a well-planned political propaganda, maybe meant to discredit a man whose political ambition also need to be established. If he has the opportunity on a free and fair background and people subscribe to his mentality, he could have the opportunity also to lead Liberia. It is unfortunate that our current leaders do not have that passion, because you have done something marvelous for your country and it is time for election, allow people to judge you on your deed. Because gone are those days when they used to say, the evil that men do, live after them. But now the evil that men do, live with them. When fraud, forgery of documents, we are being brought against Mr. Cummings, with all due respect, I realize that this was a well-established political propaganda meant to depopularize him among the Liberians. But maybe Babati of that, he's already popular, but he wanted to disqualify his candidacy on foolish allegation. It also tells you that even the, because there is almost all need for them to form a force that is absolutely united. You cannot unseat a ruling party with a total division. So Liberians should need to be very, very careful. Now, have seen today, Nigeria have decided to choose Atiku Abubakar as the opposition leader and Bola Tinubu as what the ruling party presidential candidate, while Atiku is going in for the opposition party. This also comes to Liberia. It tells you that the party itself lacks vision. Then at the same time, they have not been able to organize themselves. That is one. No, we are to target, because they should have been serving like a watchdog. Instead of concentrating on the weakness on the opponent-led government, they decided to come up with fraud and counterfeit allegations against a political party bearer. So this is sending absolutely the wrong message. To me, the forgery allegation and other fraudulent had been brought against Mr. Cummings is a clear indication that the opposition in Liberia lack vision. They do not have that constructive errand, because right away, instead of them concentrating on politics, on agenda that can unseat the ruling party, what they are doing, they are coming up with stupid, baseless, and foolish allegations against themselves that the ruling party can use it as a yardstick to measure their political caliber against them. Now, Cummings all charges have been dropped against him. He has been given the political wagon, maybe to act in a free wilderness like Liberia. So now there is a total division into the opposition now, because we are expecting, if you want to unseat a ruling party into Liberia, into Africa, first you need to do, you have to have a grand coalition if necessary. Then you have to speak with unity. But now that Cummings has been exonerated by the Supreme Court in Liberia, he also had things that he has tapped on that is definitely going to expose these guys. So what we are going to see from this stage now, personal attacks, because the personal attack case against Cummings has definitely been dropped. And he also has the whole political party. So why they are doing this personal attack, this one is going to give the ruling party the levity maybe to use it and to exploit it as a situation. So we are not seeing an organized political faction in Liberia that can stand up to confront Ouinea. Ouinea, in essence, here, his vulnerability into leadership, maybe break of contract whatsoever thing, has definitely exposed him. But is the opposition actually ready to use what is its weakness as an advantage on their own part? No, they are concentrating on trivial matters, things that shouldn't concentrate on. Look the amount of time that they have taken just for a man to prove himself innocent. Those times would have been used to successfully canvass and campaign and buy whatsoever thing. And there are certain information now that have been leaked out that shouldn't be leaked out. So right away, we are now seeing a political party or opposition party that are now in fraction into Liberia. And Liberia is a very small state where you have illiteracy is on the high, poverty is very there. So I can, in short here or in the nibble here, the opposition just lost focus. And there is serious crisis ahead. This could just be the one thing, another one could come, and expect anything to come. So personal attack is definitely not helping politics into Liberia.
Definitely, this is a great win for Alexander Cummings and a big loss for the opposition, including Cummings himself. So it's both a win for him, but then when you look at it in a broader sense, they all have lost. Like you rightly said, they failed to speak with one voice. They failed to create a grand coalition. They failed to behave like mature politicians. They showed the Liberian people that they all came for their personal interest, that they were only interested in power and not to liberate the people. George Weah is an inexperienced politician. It's not easy to unseat Weah if you do your homework properly. Weah is inexperienced, a footballer who just came to power because he was popular on the. He's a celebrity. He's not a politician. He's not a tactician. You guys know what to do to unseat this man, but you went over there and fumbled and started playing on each other, accusing each other of playing. In fact, the funniest part of it is that they accused the man of authoring a document of an organization. Then all of them left that organization. The organization was no longer in existence, but then they were still suing that he tampered with the document when they've already dissolved the organization. This is to tell you the kind of wickedness that these people have in their heart. They were not having good intention for the country. And the opposition is worse than the ruling party as we speak. So for me, they don't have my vote. They don't have my support. I just see them as they will be worse than George Weah, and that's all it's going to be. If we are going to continue, so be it. The medicine should not be worse than the sickness. We don't want that. So that takes us to the last point here, Edward, without taking much of your time. Malawi government doing bad job in fighting corruption. I thought this new guy that came on, our great pastor, was doing a good job. What's happening?
Oh, yes, that is right. And but maybe there is a misplaced of interest here. Pastors are definitely not politicians. Pastor Chikara came in. He was preaching a lot. Maybe Lazarus, the man who was dead and was resurrected by Christ.
Yeah.
So everybody thought that, oh, Malawi is going to be resurrected.
I thought he will resurrect. He will resurrect
exactly,
people.
exactly. He resurrected himself from a series of failure into the political affairs in Malawi. Unfortunately, he cannot save Blantyre or Lilongwe from people's grumbling. Now he has seen what is happening today in Malawi. To my greatest surprise, this so-called Pastor Lazaro came to weed Malawi out of corruption. Maybe what Bingowa Motelika, Bakilu Maluzi, and Joyce Banda, Michael Sata, all that people did against Malawi. He said, I'm coming to save Malawi. I am a pastor, I pastor a church. My religious background cannot allow me to entertain corruption. What did he do? When he was about to go to a conference in London, he took himself, he took his wife, his son-in-law, and his daughter with a few ministers. Abi, are you going to represent your family, or you're going to represent country? What did he do? He said, and they all came here to represent special interests. Now, instead of him fighting corruption, Putin's the worst thing, like Bingowa Motelika, you talk about other president, Banda, Joyce Banda, Michael Sata, have actually established it to Malawi. What did he do? Corruption is now in a hyper state into Malawi. Now Malawi is now a well corrupt society, because I don't think politics is not religion. People of Africa should know this. You cannot have a pastor. In fact, politics, we are gone at those days when Israel was being led by priests. And because Israel was being led by priests, we all saw what used to happen. And you cannot take your priesthood to control people who are very defiant, because you need to have somebody who thinks like a politician, not someone who thinks like a religious person, because you are coming to control criminals. I am not saying criminals are not in church, criminals are not in mosques, but you are coming to control criminals, people who are defiant. So they need direct action. They said radicality is needed when things are complicated, but one shouldn't take it as a garment of life. So maybe you need somebody who is a positive radical, who can be a negative radical, to handle the kind of worst scenarios that we established into Malawi. Unfortunately, Mr. Chikara came in, he pretended to be the Lazarus, somebody, Moses, who can resurrect Malawi. But now people are grumbling. All his plans that he has set up to ensure that he weed Malawi out of corruption, they have backfired. And people are deeply corrupt. You cannot come for crying out loud. Ruling the country is not like controlling the church. You cannot come there. People expect more action rather than admonishment. People expect more action rather than just coming to reprimand somebody and say, I'm going to do this. These things are done in churches. They are done in mosques, because you want to win more converts. In political world, they imprison you for your wrongdoing. But we are seeing, instead of them being in prison, you're having a pastor maybe who pamper and entertain corruption in one or two ways. So this is why when you watch at his entire policies that he created to ensure that Malawi is being saved, he has forgotten that is not the altar. The parliament where the executive mansion is not the altar. People don't just need advice, they need action. We have seen in Israel, when Israel was being led by priests, how everything about Israel used to be war, failure, whatsoever thing. And you have most of those weaknesses. That is why Israel appealed that I want a king. The last king that served Israel was who? Or was it King Saul? Okay, the last one, just after Eli, you saw people asking that we need a king. So they needed somebody who can act like a king, because at least let us eliminate just what we are talking about, saying in places like Nigeria, when you come with religion into politics, you spoil the entire business. In Malawi, people thought that this so-called religious man, a pastor, can resurrect Malawi and weed it out of corruption. I'm telling you, using Malawi presidential position as an altar where you preach and give ordinary advice. People need action. Called plans that is created to ensure that he weed Malawi out of corruption is not pampering corruption, because people even come to you, that man is a man of God. You can do anything and go ask. That is not what politics need. Politics need direct action. When somebody kills, imprison him or sentence him to death, if somebody corrupted that person, he cannot come here. He cannot use the Constitution as a Bible. The Bible and the Constitution are quite different things. He cannot take the Bible in a political background. You can use your religious knowledge to come with peace, but when somebody does wrong, you punish them. That is gross sin. Unfortunately, if it doesn't take time, I doubt if whether he will run Malawi for another for the second time, because that, in fact, people even come with their religious mentality. In the first place, he was wrongly elected on that background. He used the church and whatsoever to campaign for himself. His entire scenarios, his plans that he has created, he has definitely failed because he's still using his religious knowledge to solve Malawi's problem. And Malawi need religious knowledge in terms of pacifying situation. But it needs radicality. It needs people who are willing to stick to the law, not to tamper justice with mercy or tampering mercy with justice. This is not what they need. Unfortunately, the wrong leaders definitely was elected in Malawi more than 1 year ago, and now he has exposed himself. Corruption is at its peak in Malawi. Lawlessness is at its peak in Malawi. And Lazarus Shikara, you can do anything. You will approach him as a man of God. They will tell you, but this pastor, in fact, there are certain things people will not even expect the pastor to do it, for goodness sake, but people can expect the politician to do it. And that is why this is a misplaced priority. People start to judge you. Is that a pastor? Because the first thing they know him is a pastor. So people still use that his religious position to capitalize on it, and now they are using him, they are misusing him, and now he will be rejected to the poll. They are going to use him, they will misuse him, and in 3 years' time, when he's taken to the poll, he's definitely going to be rejected. I think the man is just a political failure, and he never saw what Malusi created into Malawi, Joseph Banda, Michael Sata, Joyce Banda, Michael Sata, Bingo and Motorica, everything. I think Malawi is definitely falling into a situation that they never expected it to be, because finally, as long as they are rating him, corruption being in a hyper situation more than his predecessor, that tells you that the man ought to segregate himself from religion and act as a pastor. If he goes into a church, live in Rome as a Roman. If you get into the church, behave like a pastor. But when he comes, how many people stand now he's using the church, his political background, to entice members, and all of those members are attending his church. So they expect a lot from him, more of a religious person than a political leader. He's a failed person.
I hope something will be done, because this is the way population become dissatisfied and uninterested in politics, because they keep changing government, thinking that the Messiah is coming. Now, each time we bring on the Messiah turned out to be the devil. And this is very, very unfortunate in our situation in Africa. Edward Amara, thank you very much for the brilliant analysis. We have come to the end of this broadcast today. And thanks to our viewers out there. We thank you always for participating on this program, Roundtable Africa. We value your contribution. Always make comment and contribution and suggestion in the comment section below, and we will always be able to read them and learn from you as well. So, Edward, your final comment, please, before we sign out.
For my final comment go to Nigeria. I think Nigeria has set the worst precedent into Africa, and it is still setting it on a daily basis. I think now that they have now elected two presidential aspirants from the ruling APC, the All Progressive Party, and the PDP, the People Democratic Party, to be from the Muslim background. I'm not disputing that, but that will definitely not solve their problem. It's going to exacerbate the situation. I think the common Nigerian should first forget about politics and concentrate on Nigeria as a nation, because politics has divided their society, religion has thrown them apart, and ethnicity is causing more division. Let them watch Nigeria as Nigeria, instead of watching Nigeria as being a Muslim, or watching Nigeria as being a Christian, or watching Nigeria as being a Yoruba, an Igbo, or a Hausa, or whatsoever. It cannot be I am an Ijowe, I'm this, that. It's definitely creating problem. And to Liberia, we are expecting our political parties to concentrate more on handling their affairs, how to unseat an unpopular government that failed the Liberian people, instead of coming with infinitesimal matters, trivial things that are definitely creating problem. Trust me, based on the current presentation of the politicians in Liberia, if I were to be in Liberia, I wouldn't vote for the opposition, because it tells you that even when they lose election tomorrow, they will definitely claim that they won it, just the way they decided to popularize Cummings and maybe depoliticize him. It's the same way they may end up doing another thing. So the opposition is definitely not an organized one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edward Mara. I second the motion. Nigeria is indeed on a bad road, and they are not going forward. They are becoming a failed state as the whole Federal Republic, most populous black nation on earth. They are not living up to their expectation. A country of 200 million with vast natural wealth and resources should be speaking of technology, science right now, should be thinking of sending the first black people to Mars. Okay, should be thinking of these things. Here they are fighting over religion, who goes to heaven and who doesn't go, where other people are going killing hundreds of people in churches, this and that, where the rest of the world is making progress in science, and the most populous black nation on earth is becoming a joke. So that tells you the state of the matter. Nothing good is coming out of that place. And Nigeria will destabilize the entire West Africa, because we don't even have the capacity to host their refugees. Because in any country they go to, they're going to automatically they will run over that country. Because places like Liberia, where
like the Chinese of West Africa.
Yeah, if one city in Nigeria just come to Liberia, we are done. They take
exactly. Lagos alone will dominate Guinea, Liberia,
can take over Liberia. Just one city in Nigeria will cover our country. So we hope that they fix their problem. We hope the young people will participate in politics. In their their ongoing election, for me, my preferred candidate there is Omoyolo Sowore. A young man who has always stood for Pan-Africanism. He has stood for revolution. He has stood for the truth. But unfortunately, the young people are not following him because he doesn't have deep pocket. He's not dishing out money like the Jagaban in Lagos, like Atiku Abubakar, who are sharing millions to delegate. He doesn't have that money.
He has 4 wives, 28 children.
4 wives, yeah. They are billion. These guys are Tinubu, the recent church killing, he donated 75 million. These guys have money. They have money. And they stole all that money from the people. You see? So it's unfortunate what's going on. So we hope that Nigeria will rise up. Will rise up to make the black race proud. We hope. We hope. They are doing well in music, but that's not what we want. We want politics, we want economics, we want science and progress to go. As for Liberia, of course, Alexander Kumi and their Pandora box, they will not go anywhere. No, don't vote for them. They are not serious group of people. They have failed the people. They have shown to us that they cannot even organize themselves into a formidable force to go against the ruling party. And so they cannot do well even if they get to power. So let's move on. We are finish the second trend so that we see what next can come over for us. With that, brother, I say thank you very much. And that's it. Good night from my end.
Yeah, thank you.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Our father our brother, Miami. Even the day, our daily bread. Our brother, Miami. Even the day, our daily bread. Forgive us, carry one another. Carry those people, this one in our country. Free Liberia, our motherland, our fatherland. We suffer for this country. We are all Liberia is our home. Immoral is immoral. Immoral is immoral.
DJ House of Pain.
But abusing women, women are immoral.
Yes, I like this one.
Immoral